Hello, everybody. This is Constance from Mysterious Galaxy. I want to thank all the readers out there for joining us tonight and our authors as well. I am very excited because we have an awesome panel set up for you. We have Ellen Byron for Murder in the Bayou Boneyard. And I have to say that. Sorry?
Byron. That's okay.
Oh, no, what did I say?
People do it all the time.
Happens.
Brian, it's okay. It's totally okay.
I'm so sorry.
Don't be silly. It was my dad's middle name anyway, so do not worry.
Oh, that's sweet.
Yeah.
Moderator fail, and we're only in the first 30 seconds.
Hey, we're still trying to get Vicki. It's that Canadian connection. I think they stopped her at the E border.
I think so.
Elaine.
All right.
But that does segue us nicely into the next author. And we have Vicki Delany, also known as Eva Gates, and Dying in a Winter Wonderland, as well as a couple other titles. And then our third author for the night is going to be Daryl Wood Gerber. And I am very excited. A Sprinkling of Murder. We got to celebrate with her when it first came out. So I am excited to have her back and to have all three of you here to celebrate your books. I'm just like, yay. And you may have noticed that I did indeed say three authors' names, and currently you only see two. Your eyes do not deceive you. We are working with ye old internet, and we are going to persist in getting Vicki on screen. But in the meantime, while we work on that, we are going to let Ellen and Daryl take it away and go ahead and start talking about themselves.
Vicki said she's here. She can see and hear. She is, but we can't see and hear. Oh, yay! Vicki!
Lift off.
We have to be in the house.
For some of you who are saying this is new to you, this is new to Vicki and me. Ellen is an old hand at this, but we are not. So we're Zoomers.
Hardly.
We're not crowdcasters yet. So we'll get there.
Let's start with Vicki. Let's start. Oh, so you already introduced us. Okay.
Yes, and then I'm gonna sneak away, and because they do not need to see me, they're here for you guys. But just two little notes for everyone who is here. If you have a question for our authors, you'll see a lovely button that says "Ask a Question," and you can click that and put your questions down there. Events are fun with questions, so ask all the questions you have. And then also, I am a bookseller, so I'm slightly biased. But if you wish to celebrate and support an author, there is no better way than to purchase their book. I know, I'm biased. But if you wish to purchase these awesome books, there is a buy book and personalized book plate right down there. There's a beautiful button that will take you to all of these authors' amazing books. And with that, I will go ahead and let you guys take it away, and I'll see you at the end of the event.
Thank you.
Thanks, Constance. Oh, it's the three of us. Hey, Vicki, start talking because I'm so terrified we're going to lose you again.
Yeah. Okay, the only thing I want to say real quickly is I haven't sent any book plates into the store, but if you buy a book from them and then you write to me, I'm more than happy to send bookmarks and book plates. So that's
yes.
all.
Same for me.
Mine are already there. So, and Vicki, make sure speak up because I think it just make sure you're a little, you may have to yell a little.
Or turn up your sound. Oh, okay, we got to see the pores under your eyes. No, just kidding.
So anyway, I'm really okay. I'm going to talk first. I'm going to talk fast in case I get dropped. But I'm really was excited when Ellen wrote to me and asked if I would like to join her with the celebration of her new book because I love the Cajun country mysteries.
Oh, thank you.
I think Cajun County is it?
Cajun country.
Cajun country.
They're called parishes in Louisiana, not counties.
That it's a place I've never been. I've never been to New Orleans. I was hoping to go to ButcherCon this year. Yeah, so we're still like this. So it's taken me to a place that I've never been, but that I'd really like to go. And super interesting characters. I love the protagonist Maggie. She's great fun. Her grandmother and her whole family. And in fact, I wrote a piece today on Wicked Authors about what I like about Cozies and why I like writing Cozies. So Wicked Authors, it's called, and you can have a look and see. That's what I like about Cozies is the friendships that you make, with these people that you read about in the books and the sense of community they have and generally the nice places that they live and interesting jobs and they all have. So that's what I love about about the Cajun country mysteries for sure, and what I loved about the Fairy Tale Garden mysteries from Daryl. They're just such a charming idea. That's one of those things. When I read that, I thought, oh, wasn't that a great idea?
Well, I'm going to jump in and I'm going to say two things. One, I feel the same way. I loved your book, Dying in Winterland. I felt like I was there in Rudolph, New York. I wanted to move there. It's so evocative and such a charming, you know, and I couldn't put it down. And I felt the same way about both books, both your books. And I did say I had a little surprise for Daryl.
Oh, you made a fairy garden. How adorable is that?
I made a fairy garden after reading your book. I've been waiting to tell a show. I didn't tell her, so I've been holding my secret in. I found
so sweet.
And I ordered little fairies that are reading books. So
yes, that's what I do a lot in my fairy gardens is I have lots of reading fairies. Yeah.
And I have a little dog that looks like our late Wiley, and then there's a dog that looks like our Pogo. And of course, there has to be an alligator. And then I got a water feature. So
yeah, that's very nice.
So
you put it in a very small container. You can do that. Fairy gardens don't have to be big. They can be little. Hold on.
Well, this was a plant that died. One of my daughter's plants that died.
They can be little.
Oh,
a little teacup fairy garden. Isn't that
that's
cute?
Adorable. That's so cute. So I've been waiting to share that. So, and I honestly think that is what, Vicki, what you were just talking about is kind of the magic of cozies, that, you know, you feel like, and I always say it's kind of like the TV version is, you know, is it like a castle. And my husband is here in the background. I laugh. He once said that ABC stands for Always Broadcasting Castle, because it was every time we turned on the TV. Hi, they're laughing, honey. Every time we turned on the TV, it's on because it's or Murder She Wrote, where Daryl once starred. You know, there's a comfort factor. You have the arc of the ongoing characters we create, but then you have the case of the week, in that the mystery and so here in Murder in the Bayou Boneyard, which the name is mirrored backwards, but you have a mystery of for my stories, I try to go from some point of reality. And the point of reality for that was Airbnb sucking up all the local real estate for these short-term rentals, and how it affects the local hotels and B&Bs. So that was the kicking off point. And then someone said to me, my agent actually said, well, what about relatives? What about those? Does she have any Canadian relatives? I mean, you know, because everyone who came from to the Cajuns, that's Cajun is, if you say Acadian fast enough, the region of Canada, it becomes Cajun. So I thought, yeah, let's do that. Let's throw in some Canadian relatives, but let's do a little twist on the typical, the Canadians are so nice, which they are. What?
So boring.
So no, I made
boring. They're
not at all, but I made mine obnoxious Canadians. So I did a bit of an oxymoron.
They actually do exist. But what you said, because that's one of the things I sort of tried to incorporate in Dying in a Winter Wonderland, is just basically how, and Mysterious Galaxy people will understand, but basically in real world, how hard it is for any kind of a small independent company these days, whether it's a B&B or a bookstore, or in my case, it's the whole town is all these little independent stores trying to keep themselves alive by doing everything they can, advertising themselves as America's Christmas town. Well, what happens when it is bad publicity and people stop coming? Or in one of the earlier books, there's plans to put in, you know, a mega mart on the outskirts of town and to turn the lovely inn into, you know, some kind of a resort and golf club and that sort of thing. So even in Cozies, we do try and put in some real life
conflict
people run into.
Yes.
Conflict. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, let me ask you this. I'm going to put this to you guys. There are two real places. I created a very fictionalized version of two real places, and one is St. Martinville, Louisiana, and one is Breaux Bridge, Louisiana. And I kind of married the two and then added my own little, Now, what about you? Are yours fictionalized versions of real places? Yours is not, Daryl. Yours is a real place.
So it's interesting. All my other mysteries, all my other cozies have been set in fictional towns that I created. So the Cookbook Nook mysteries are set in Crystal Cove, which everybody wants to visit. Even I want to visit. But I decided for the Fairy Garden mysteries, I wanted to set it in the real town of Carmel by the Sea, which is on the coast of California. And it's a fabulous town. And what it is it's a very spiritual town. It was created right after the San Francisco, it wasn't created. It really populated after the San Francisco earthquake of 1906, because all these authors and artists moved to town and they made these beautiful little cottages and things. And I mean, they don't even have mailboxes. They have a main post office they go to. So Carmel is like its own little cozy town.
It is. It's a real version of one.
It's a real version of one, and it's populated. It's got lots of courtyards with secret hiding entrance and exits. And so I thought it was a perfect place to set a place where you could indeed believe in fairies and maybe find fairy doors and maybe find fairy gardens, around the neighborhood, and that people would possibly believe in the spiritual side of that. So it was fun for me. But writing in a real town, you have to get a lot of the stuff really right. So you have to make sure that the streets are here, and they go this way, and they're named properly. And you don't I threw in a fake, courtyard. I was able to, fictionalize some of it, but I put in real courtyards and I put in real streets, and the library's in the right place. So, it's fun. Working in a real town is harder, because in a fictional town, you can create any. By the way, Vicki, I'm going to say to both of you, Vicki, I love Rudolph. I love all the names of the characters. The characters' names are Mary and Noel and Carol. Yeah. I mean, it's so Christmassy. It's delicious. And I know that we're talking about Bayou for You, but I also love Here Comes the Body, which was
thank you.
Came out, and that starts, and it was very funny because she has Maggie. She has Maggie in the series that's in New Orleans, but Mia is in New York, and so Mia is such a completely different character and wonderful, and it borders on the mob, and yet it's cozy. It's cozy and it's adorable. So it's so much fun.
And you caught, and that was such a big mistake I made and you caught the last, because I kept writing Maggie and Mia. I don't know what I was thinking. And then we missed one, and Daryl said, and I immediately wrote, and we got it out in the Kindle version. But
I said, was Mia's name Maggie at first? And she said, oh my gosh. It happens.
It happens. I don't know what I was thinking. I don't know anyone with a name that starts with M, and all I'm doing is creating characters. I know, but in real life. So, Vicki, I have to ask you: is Rudolph inspired by a real location?
No, Rudolph is totally and completely made up, and even the origins of the town of Rudolph, which I go into in the first book, which I had a lot of fun with, totally made up. Because I wanted the main street to have a name like Jingle Bell Lane, and the shops, Candy Cane Sweets and Mrs. Claus's Treasures and Victoria's Bake Shop and that sort of stuff. But the other book, I have another new book coming out. Dying in a Winter Wonderland came out on Tuesday, just passed, and tomorrow I have yet another new book coming out under my pen name of Eva Gates, and that's called A Death Long Overdue, and it's part of the Lighthouse Library series, and it is set not only in a real town, it's actually set in a real building.
Wow.
I love the Lighthouse mysteries. I love that you set a library in there. It was fabulous.
So the lighthouse itself is real. You can go there. I've been there. I've climbed the 210 steps to the top. And I always have a little disclaimer at the end of the book that it's not big enough to house a library, a staff quarters, a staff break room, offices, a rare book room, 2 suitcases. It doesn't regularly have dead bodies either. But I call it my version of the TARDIS, or Hermione Granger's beaded handbag.
That's great. Well, I have. I love. Go on.
Is real. The physical location of the lighthouse in the new book, A Death Long Overdue, after the presentation in the library, they go out for a walk on the marsh, and I judge that looking at the map, the distances from the lighthouse to the marsh and how long the boardwalk is and all that, as well as the town itself. So Yeah, it's a whole new challenge. It's a whole new
Well,
challenge.
it's funny because for me, and I have a question for Vicki, and then I have to say, but for the Catering Hall Mysteries, I literally, my character lives where my nonna lived. She goes. I use a real bakery. I literally, when I'm writing that book, I am walking the walk. I walk from the subway stop to my nonna's in Astoria. The place where she works is the place that that one of our cousins by marriage ran, and we had our New York reception. So that is so real. And then I have to make stuff up. But this is a sidebar thing, and then I'll get to the question I was going to ask you, is that, speaking of when you name stuff that, I've had a lot of meetings on the Disney lot, and the streets are like, Snow White Lane and Dopey Drive. And it's like, you really have to hold your laughter when like the very serious security guard goes, yeah, you make a left on Goofy Lane, and then you make another right on Dopey Drive. And you're sitting there going,
yeah,
okay.
But when you have someplace, like Rudolph, and you come up with all the Christmassy names, it really anchors you in the story, and I think that that's really important when a reader's going through that. They want to feel like they are there. And that really helps them get the total feeling. I mean, the fact that her father looks like Santa Claus and is Santa Claus is just, it anchors you in the fiction, but the fantasy of it as well.
Yeah.
I think that that's important. I mean, in Crystal Cove, I have sea names and poinsettia names, flower names for my plants. And because that's what the town is. It's all about flowers and growth and things and ocean. So everything has that kind of name. But, Carmel by the Sea, I have to go by the names that are there.
Yep.
Well, I have to ask you something, Vicki.
7th Street, 8th Street, 9th Street.
Vicki, so all you write multiple series, yet they're all set in the United States, and you're a Canadian author. Is there a reason why? And also, if there's a feeling that you need to be in America you need to set them in America to reach this audience, the readership, the large readership here. This is going to be an odd question, but do you think Schitt's Creek has changed that? And for those of you who don't know, I'm not cursing, although I can. That is the name of a wonderful TV show that just ended, but my husband and I were addicted to from day one because it starred Eugene Levy and Catherine O'Hara.
Yeah. Oh, so that's an interesting point, but it's almost like what I sort of call the Louise Penny effect. When Louise Penny got so successful with her book set in Quebec, everybody said Canadian settings would be the next best thing, and never happened.
Huh.
The thing is that American publishers generally won't publish books set in Canada. You have to set them in the States. Now, my Constable Molly Smith series, my earlier books were published by Poison Pen, and they're set in British Columbia. But now that the publishers I'm with now, no, they don't want books that are set in Canada. They say they don't sell. I mean, I go to a lot of conferences, and the audiences always say they would love to read books that are set in Canada. But that's a very select audience. The people that are joining us here today are not the casual browser. They're the people that are the real fans and who know what they like and are looking for something same but different. You know what I mean? But that's definitely, it's not untrue that American publishers don't want Canadian set books.
Okay.
Unless you use Louise Penny. But even
Schitt's
Creek is not set anywhere.
I know, it's true.
You make a funny point, and this is that the publishers do get to drive some of what we do. Yeah. I mean, for example, someone has said, why don't you take this character, across the United States, move them to another town, move them to go do something in San Francisco, and then next week do it in the next, book in New York. Publishers like the cozy environment of being in the same town over and over and over again, not to move out and to change the environment, because they want the same set of characters, they want the same comfort level. And I've found that fascinating. And people ask, how do you set a cozy where everybody is dying in your town? Well, as we all know, it's the Murder, She Wrote syndrome.
Yes.
You're either a suspect or you're a victim.
Yep.
Yeah.
So one of the things about like in the Sherlock Holmes Bookshop series, the latest one that came out in January of this year, that's called what's it called? There's a murder afoot. It's set in London, England, but the entire gang goes to London. So I need a pretext to get all the characters there. So they go to the Sherlock Holmes convention. Because cozy readers really do want all their beloved characters to appear in the books. And
I
in
actually,
one cases, they even want the pets. So in fact, I deliberately had her calling back to the store to find out what's going on. And Moriarty, the shop cat, has been up to some, causing disaster wherever he goes, so that I could, have him involved in the story too.
oh, that's great. That's great. Yeah, I have to say, I personally, as a reader, am distracted when the characters leave their native land. Louise has written 2 books where Beautiful Mystery, and then the recent one, All the Devils Are Here, where she took, Gamache and the people out. I was actually, this book I was more able to engage in because it's his family, so you're kind of wrapped up in that. But I did find it distracting with the other one. It's like, I want to be back in Three Pines. I don't want to be at some monastery. And when I was at the monastery, I kept thinking of the Odd Couple, great hysterical Odd Couple one where Felix and Oscar went to a monastery. So I always, and they turn and Oscar turns a sugar cube into dice. So
okay, so for those that don't know us, tell to everybody say what your protagonist does. Because I mean, we say what our titles are and everything else, but what do they do? So, Vicki, what does your character in the Christmas Mysteries do?
In the Christmas series, she owns Mrs. Claus's Treasures, which is a gift shop and a decor shop. So the character's background is she actually worked for a major lifestyle magazine in New York as a design editor. So she believes that she has a good eye, and one of the she tries to get local things into the store and that sort of stuff. So it's basically a store, a Christmas themed store. In the Lighthouse Library series, she is, believe it or not, a librarian.
And talk about in the Sherlock Holmes series, she owns a bookstore.
In the Sherlock Holmes series, the character owns the Sherlock Holmes Bookshop and Emporium, which is one of the things I really like about writing the Sherlock Holmes book, because it's set in a bookstore. She's always advising people on books or mentioning books, or so-and-so came in for the copy of X that he'd ordered, and I drop names of books everywhere. Drop. And they all exist in the real world, and all the stuff that you can buy in the store all exists in the real world.
That's great.
I have Sherlock mugs that you can get in that. So I enjoy that as an extra little thing for me, just looking for what there is available out there to drop in. Yep.
Oh, that's fine.
Daryl, what about you?
Okay, so in my Fairy Garden Mysteries series, which the first one is just out. So this is the first in this series.
I love the cover. Hold it straight. Hold it really close so everyone can see how beautiful the cover is. There you go. Isn't that charming?
It's cute. This is Pixie, and this is Fiona. So someone was mentioning over there. I saw that they like paranormal mysteries. This is my first venture into a paranormal mystery because, yes, the fairy is alive, and she's a sidekick. She's a sidekick sleuth. But the Fairy Garden Mysteries features Courtney Kelly, and she owns a fairy garden shop where she teaches people how to make fairy gardens, and she sells fairy garden figurines and things like that, and serves tea on the weekends. And that's why Ellen made a fairy garden. So that's that series, and the second will come out next year. And then I write the Cookbook Nook Mysteries, and that features Jenna, and she runs a culinary cookbook shop, a culinary bookshop, and also the neighboring cafe, and that is in the fictional town of Crystal Cove, California, and it's on its 10th book. So wow. Let's see, the 10th, yeah, the 9th just came out, and that was Shredding the Evidence, and the 10th will come out next year. So
and that has recipes, right? Doesn't it have recipes?
Well, all my books, all my cozies have recipes. My suspense do not. I also write suspense, so I'll tell you about that in a minute. But all my cozy mysteries have recipes. I started writing the Cheese Shop Mysteries as Avery Ames. Those had lots of recipes. Then the Cookbook Nook, then the French Bistro Mysteries, and now the Fairy Garden. I threw in recipes because people expect them, and she throws tea. So what's better than tea sandwiches and tea cookies?
Throws tea. Well, the book that we're celebrating that came out most recently is a Murder in the Bayou Boneyard, and I just love this cover. I just got a little charm.
Hold it closer.
Okay. Hold it closer. And I just got a little. I'll show you the charm. I have to open it. I just got my charms. I get little charms from this Etsy site of my book covers, and hold on. I'll hold it up, and so I put them. Here's my little book cover charm. Let's see if you can.
Really can't see it.
You can't see it. Okay.
But it's cute.
It's very cute. So, and what we're talking, what was the question? What does Maggie do? Maggie she was trained as an artist, and she had a gallery in Brooklyn with a boyfriend, and that didn't work out. And she came back to Pelican, Louisiana, town motto, "Yes, we Pelican," and to help her parents run the family historical plantation the family owns that they opened and are turned into a B&B to make it so they could keep it running. And then in Catering Hall Mysteries, Mia, my protagonist, Mia Karina, works. Her father is in a mob family, and he was given with a capital F. And he was given this catering hall, this kind of slightly rundown catering hall, as payment for a debt, but he has to run it as legitimate business because the mob does have legitimate businesses. So she has come to help him do that and make a success of it, so he doesn't have to go back to his illegal activity. So, and it's inspired very much by my real life. My mom was born in Italy and came over when she was 3, and cousins ran the Astoria Manor and the Grand Bay Marina in Queens, and
they were capital F family.
No, no. There were rumors. Like one day, my dad was having a business problem, and we were with one of Ralphie. We were having dinner with cousin Ralphie and his wife, and my dad was complaining about this guy, and Ralph went, "Dick, you got a problem? I got a guy." And it was literally a name. It was like Joey Six Fingers Butchagaloop. He can help. You got a problem? You tell me. And my father was like, "Oh, no, thank you." So,
well, I like the way you guys are so showing you. You might notice that I'm not showing any book covers.
Oh,
I have 2 new books out. None of my author copies have arrived.
Oh,
and the book's been out a whole week.
Customs. I blame customs.
Well, not just customs. There is a shortage of paper. That is what the publishers are claiming. Shortage of paper because why? Everybody went out and bought toilet paper and paper towels because of COVID. So it really made a shortage of paper. Well, it's coming back, as long as
the books are in the bookstore, I'd rather they were in the bookstore than in a box in my house.
Yeah,
there you go.
I don't have book covers to show everybody, so you'll have to go to my website or my Facebook page or something to have a look.
All right, so let's almost close. We should probably say what's next. We just have what's out, but what's next?
Okay. I was going to say, do we want to say something unusual about our backgrounds before we get there? Let's say one thing people might not know about us. One little fun fact people might not know. I'll share mine because, of course, the fact it's a joke that people don't know about it because I never stop talking about it. But I'll share it anyway because I'm sure maybe some of the other people don't know. Oh, and my books all have recipes, which leads me to tell you that I was a cater waiter for Martha Stewart when she was first starting out. And if you have an original copy of Entertaining or one of the early editions, they did a reissue at some point, you will see me standing next to her at the kitchen at the Cooper Hewitt Museum, dressed very downstairs, holding a tray of hors d'oeuvres. I believe I'm holding a tray of hors d'oeuvres. And Martha really did inspire some of my recipes. So that's my fun fact about myself for those who don't know. And sorry to repeat myself for those who do. Daryl?
Oh, me?
Because you're right next to me on my screen.
Okay. So, I've got two things, but they are on my website. So anybody who's read my website probably knows them. I have jumped out of a perfectly good airplane, not by myself, thank God. I did jump out with a coach, but it was an exhilarating experience, and I did it a second time because it was so wonderful. The other thing I did that a lot of people don't know is I hitchhiked around Ireland by myself when I was 21.
Oh, wow.
And, I would not recommend that anybody do it, but it was the most enlightening experience of my life because I found out, number 1, that I was strong. Number 2, I can run very fast. Number 3, I'm very clever at how to get out of a car that I should not have gotten into.
Wow.
And, so, and I know how not to answer the door when someone's going, knock, knock, knock. I know you're in there. So it was a scary experience. But I was so glad I did it because I was a scaredy cat before then. And nobody's ever called me a scaredy cat since.
Whoa, that's amazing. Yeah. Vicki.
My fun fact isn't nearly as interesting as either of yours, but I was a computer programmer before there were computers. I I was a computer programmer before you had computers on your desks. So we did so I learned to COBOL in the old days. We did it on paper. You do it all on paper. You'd hang your paper up all over the wall to follow your train of, if X equals Y, then Z and all this. And you'd follow all that along. And we sent them the papers all the way to be card punched overnight. And we were allowed one turnaround, meaning you got your cards back the next day and you tested them. And you were allowed one mistake. If there was something wrong, you sent it back to be fixed the next night. And it was expected to work the second day.
Wow, I'm super impressed.
I'm so impressed.
I stopped helping my kid with math homework in 3rd grade. I was like, I'm out. I'm done. I don't know what a fractional thingy. I was done. I was done.
Well, I can help my son, but I can't help my grandkids.
What?
I could help my son, but I can't help my grandkids. It's changed.
Well, I probably couldn't either. So no, not anymore.
So let's go. Okay, so the next thing was going to be what's up next. Right.
Okay, well, I'll start. So for those of you who don't know me, I also write suspense, and the 3rd in the Aspen Adams novels of suspense. And I'm sorry, they are not available at Mysterious Galaxy. So I really apologize, Mysterious Galaxy, but I'm still going to plug it. The 3rd, Cold Conviction, comes out in 4 weeks. So I'm very excited about it. It's the 3rd in the suspense series, and it's gotten very nice reviews. So I'm very pleased.
That's great. Great cover.
Thanks.
Vicki?
And my new, thank you, Mysterious Galaxy, little note there.
That's sweet.
Bookshop series. Hold on, you talk and I'll run and get one. I actually have one of those.
Oh, okay. Because I was gonna go run and get the cover for my next book, and then I'll do that in a minute. But once Vicki, we'll do it a tag team. She'll come back and I'll run. That's great. Okay, I'll be right back. You talk about that. I'll be right back.
Okay.
I did get
the Curious Incident.
This book doesn't come out till January, and I did get the advanced rating copies already. And this is the next Sherlock Holmes Bookshop series called A Curious Incident. It's probably reversed, but we have the introduction of a new character. There's Snowball, the new kitten.
Aww.
And Moriarty, the shop cat. So this is Sherlock Holmes Bookshop series, and it comes out in January. And that'll be my next book after tomorrow. And tomorrow, that's still what's coming. Tomorrow is
still what's coming. Okay.
A Death Long Overdue by Eva Gates. So those of you actually who don't know me, I don't know if I mentioned that I also write under the name Eva Gates. So you can look for that.
I like that title.
What's the title?
Title again. It's a good title.
This one? Or the other one?
A Death Long Overdue.
A Death Long Overdue. Because it is they find they're put together a display of historical art, library related historical artifacts, and they find something in a book that was long ago taken out, and there's something in that book that leads to the murder.
Oh, that sounds great. That's great. Okay, so I'm going to be doing another Cajun Country mystery, Cajun Kiss of Death, but that won't be out till like next August or September. But in February, and I should mention that I write the Catering Hall mysteries under a pen name, Maria DeRico, which was the maiden name of my nonna. And my next Catering Hall mystery will be out February 25th. And I'm so proud of this title. I think it is one of the best cozy titles ever. It is Long Island Iced Tina.
Hold it steady. There you go.
Long Island Iced Tina. So I had to fight for the title a little bit. I was like, my editor was like, meh. I'm like, what do you mean meh? You tell me that is not a great kitschy cozy title. So, and I'll be doing a 3rd book in that'll be out at some point next year, and it's going to be a Christmas themed, Christmas in Queens. So, Christmas in Queens with Italians. So it's going to be fun. Yeah. Okay, so should we hit some of the questions?
Yeah. How do we see those again?
Right here. There we go. Let's see. What part of your newest book? Oh, what a great. What part of your newest book brought you the most joy to write?
I don't see those questions. Where do you see them?
Okay, down at the bottom, click Ask a Question. And
Hold on, I have
see the question. Well, okay. Can I speak to that? And am I
yes,
covered by the question, or can you speak?
Oh, go to it.
Okay. So when writing a sprinkling of murder, okay, I got to make, well, I do now make all sorts of fairy gardens. And I do this because I went to a Renaissance fair and I fell in love with fairy gardens at this Renaissance fair. And I thought, as Vicki said, wouldn't that make a good idea? And then I went to this store that was down in Orange County, and I bought all my first initial pieces for a fairy garden. And I've got to tell you, when I'm writing the fairy garden mysteries, it's not just the ones I'm building, but I get to create fictional ones in my mind as I'm writing them. And I see joy from all my characters that come in to buy them. Little boys, little girls. Oh, there's one little scene that I've got. Is it in book 1 or book 2? Book 2. And so you won't see it. But it's a little boy building, and he's very resistant to building a fairy garden. And then there's an older woman who's making her very first teacup garden, and they're delighting in it, and it gives me joy to write scenes about people that are finding joy in an art that is not that difficult to do. And like I showed you that teacup garden earlier, there's no planting, so the garden part is, you don't have to. You don't have to have a green thumb to make a fairy garden. And so that part is bringing me joy, is to write that part that makes other people smile. But when I write it, I'm smiling. So that's sort of fun.
That's cool. Vicki, what about you?
What are we answering? What question are we answering? Sorry.
Question we're asking.
What brings you joy?
Gave you the most joy to write?
There it is. Actually, I talked a little bit about that today when I mentioned that I did a blog post for Wicked Authors. And it ties in with the next question as well, that why are you writing cozies instead of thrillers? Because I'm tired of writing the hard stuff in life. And I do enjoy writing the cozies just because also it makes me smile too. And yeah, there's a murder that takes place for sure. And we must never forget that's that's not something to joke about. But the characters all very human reactions around it. And that to me is what I really liked. I like that a lot. I certainly in the Christmas books, in the year-round Christmas books, Dying in a Winter Wonderland, I just enjoyed what can I do with all that silly Christmas stuff? I mean, I like the silly Christmas stuff as much as anybody else. Her dad has this selection of ugly Christmas sweaters. Her mother's an opera diva, and she dresses as if she's about to go on stage at the Met, and her father is in his ugly Christmas sweater. So I just enjoy all the things that are silly about the Christmas season.
That's
silly
great.
And fun and lovable.
Well, for me, I think what I enjoyed, it was really fun writing the dysfunctional Canadian family, because the guy has twins from his first marriage who are in their mid-20s. And they're just, they just are not like, and Maggie is like, what have I done? She invited this distant cousin she found to work as a masseuse in the spa they're opening. And she's like, oh my God, this is a nightmare. And the two things I really enjoyed is one, that the son, I talked about Schitt's Creek before. In my head, when I was writing it, I saw Daniel Levy's character, David, a lot. So, so he's very dramatic. And that was really fun to write. And then also, part of the thing is that all the B&Bs in town do this Pelican Spooky past package. So they kind of are doing different events that are themed to, like, Halloween, and there's a Rougarou, which is the Cajun werewolf. And one of the things that one of the B&Bs is doing is a place, and that they're doing it in this abandoned cemetery. And it was really fun to write like these amateur, theatrics for these people doing this, and and the teenager who's playing, like the 30-year-olds who are playing teenagers, and so that was really fun. Yeah. So okay, let me look at the next question. What pulled you towards writing cozies? Okay, well, Vicki answered that. You write both. I'll go real quickly that I'm actually doing a work in progress now that I would call domestic suspense, and I have to say it's really hard. Because all my books have a lot of humor. I was a television, for those who don't know, I wrote sitcoms for years, Wings, Just Shoot Me, Fairly Odd Parents. So all my books have a lot of humor in them. And it's really hard to be writing with so much less of that. So it's quite difficult. But Daryl, what about you?
Well, I do write both, and interestingly enough, I started as an actress, and as an actress, I then wrote romantic comedy screenplays and thriller screenplays, and I had an agent say to me, "Which do you write best?" And I said, "I don't know. I think I write both best." And I was like, "Well, I have to peg you," and so I wrote romantic comedies. But when we moved across country, I focused on what I like to write, and I went to long form. So I wrote mysteries and thrillers, and I checked them both out. I have a very dramatic history to my life, and so thrillers fit me first. But what was interesting is my spirit is much lighter. And so that's why I write cozies and feel very comfortable in that genre, because they sort of fall into the romantic comedy side of me. So I like dipping my feet in both. What I like about thrillers, my thrillers are standalone. My suspense is a series. It's just a whole different genre. I like being able to shift, and it's like eating food. I can't eat the same food all the time. So, I can't see the same movies all the time. I like a little, changing it up, and it's fun for me. I can actually write a suspense in the afternoon and a cozy in the morning, because never the twain shall meet, because they just don't have the same texture.
Yeah.
So I have fun doing both.
Okay, now at some point I want to hear more about your dramatic personal life, but we'll save that for drink.
Yeah, my cozy people don't want to know.
To drink. Okay, and someone wants to know, Vicki, what is the name of your Christmas series?
Oh, actually, I answered that privately. That's going
to. Oh, you did? Okay.
But I will repeat it. It's the year-round Christmas series, because the town calls itself your year-round Christmas destination.
That's great.
And I told Vicki earlier that I was very jealous, because at one point I wanted to write a Christmas series, and hers came out. I heard that hers had been bought, and it was like, okay, can't sell that one now.
There's nothing new under the sun, believe me.
Okay, what kind of research do you do for your series / books? Okay, who wants to take that first?
I'll start that if I can, because I wanted to say the research that I did a lot more research when I was writing, certainly when I was writing the police procedural stuff. I did all kinds of research on policing, and I met with police officers, and I went on ride-alongs and walk-alongs and all that kind of stuff. But for the cozies, my main form of research is actually location research, because I'd never even been to the Outer Banks before I started writing the Lighthouse Library series. So I tootled on down to the Outer Banks and checked it all out, and walked the grounds of the lighthouse and climbed the lighthouse. For the Sherlock Holmes Bookshop series, they're set in Cape Cod, so I went to Cape Cod just to, you can learn, you can see so much these days through Google Earth and stuff like that, but there is nothing like being there. You really, I think, if at all possible, you need to go to a place that you're going to write about, so just to get that feel.
I think the takeaway from that is that we actually write these books so that gives us an excuse to write off our travel on the taxes.
Yes. I did that when I went to London. Went to London with one of my daughters, and I made notes everywhere we went, and I used all those places in the Sherlock Holmes Bookshop series.
Oh, that's great.
There's a Murder Afoot was the name of that book, when they all went to London, and they ate in the restaurants we ate in. They walked the streets we walked in. I found Gemma's parents' house, and I took pictures of it and that sort of thing.
Well, I'm thrilled that I write the Cajun Country series, because and I'm actually have a proposal out set in New Orleans, because then I keep having to go back there. So my daughter's in school there too, so that's another excuse. So I'll take the research. I do a lot of it's online, but then I'll reach out to people. Like in Fatal Cajun Festival, there was a whole real estate angle, and I found a real estate lawyer in maybe it was this book. Oh my God, I'm mixing them up. I think it was this book. where I had to, this one where there's a real estate one of my books has a real estate angle, and I had to find Louisiana has very different laws. So, and all of the states do. So I had to find a real estate lawyer in Louisiana to help me walk through that. And then the book that will be out next year, Cajun Kiss of Death, there's an accident that knocks the bridge out of commission, and they bring back the ferry. So I was online, I was doing so much research about, the ferries. So it's online, it's in person, it's walking the streets. And I enjoy doing the research. It's fun. Daryl, what about you?
So you were researching fairies as well.
Yeah, I was fairies.
Favorite fairy. Got it. Okay. I've been researching fairies. Okay. I do for my fairy garden mysteries. I did a lot of I read a lot of poetry about fairies, and I read about the fairy flowers that were back in the 1920s. And so I've done a lot of fairy research, and then I made things up. Hi, puppy. Sparky's on the floor.
Sorry, I thought you wanted to come up. Go on.
And so when I was doing all this research, it was helping me to develop who my fairy was going to be, is by reading about them and reading reading about fairy doors and reading about the ways to go through fairy holes in the forest and everything else to get to the fairy kingdom. But I do a lot of research about cookbooks. I do a lot of research about recipes. That's for my other series. I did a lot of research about cheese when I wrote the Cheese Shop Mysteries. I tested over 1,000 cheeses. So yeah, it was tough research, but someone had to do it. And so it was but and then when you go to the fiction side of creating the towns, it was interesting. I created Crystal Cove because I grew up in California. I knew the coast of California, and that's a mishmash of 4 or 5 coastal cities I put into one. And I went to Carmel by the Sea because I grew up in Northern California, and I went to Carmel by the Sea a lot. So that was a very comfortable recreation of a town for me. And my suspense are set in Tahoe or San Francisco, so I know those areas. But what was interesting is when I was doing the Cheese Shop Mysteries, I went to Ohio. And people go, why were they set in Ohio? My publisher wanted it set in Ohio, Vicki. So it was like, really? Not Michigan? Not Wisconsin, excuse me. No, there's cheese everywhere. And so I went to Ohio, and I had my cell phone, and I got to Ohio, and I knew where I was going, but there's no cell phone reception, and there wasn't any GPS for me. And I got lost numerous times, and I'd have to ask people, so I'm going to such and such, and oh, sweetheart, you passed that 3 miles and go back to the white fence, make the turn at the church. At the left turn, you make the church around the gas station, and then to your right, okay. So it was fascinating. I got to know these people. They were all charming. They all wanted to talk to me. I took an Amish tour, and it was fascinating. But that was the research I did for that. So,
well, you know what? I have to tell a quick story before I move to the other question. But speaking of research, is that for my standalone suspense I'm working on, my protagonist is a private pilot, so I had to find out, a lot about that. And these people would not talk to me, so I actually got my car washed, dressed as nicely as I could, and went to the private terminal at the Burbank airport and pretended I was going to be renting a plane.
I love it.
And I'm one of those people who I'd lie about being sick to my mom when I was a kid, and then I feel bad, so I actually would make myself sick so it wasn't a lie anymore. So I was like, by the time I was done, I was like, maybe I could get people together to fly down to New Orleans for our high school reunion. Maybe it's not, maybe it would be maybe we could make it affordable. I literally convinced myself that I could rent a private plane to take, people back to our reunion.
Yeah.
So, but they're like zipped lips.
Is that funny?
Yeah.
Okay, but I do like the fact that I washed my Honda Civic, because of course a dirty Honda Civic would have given me away, but a clean Honda Civic made me look like someone who could afford to rent a private plane.
I like the way you think.
All right, so our last question is about punny titles, and where do we come up with them? Where do we get such great and fun titles? Who wants to start with this one?
I'll take it real quick, because I'll say that I can come up with them as a joke. It's actually very hard for me to come up with in my own books, and so sometimes you reach out to the hive, the Covey hive mind, the Cozy hive mind for it, and then sometimes actually when I worked on Just Shoot Me, they had the interstitials which showed magazine covers, and there were magazine title, like there had to be a lot of magazine titles, would be punny too, especially for fashion magazines. And I was great. They would always send me off to do that. And I would come up with stuff like emotional baggage, this year's great looks for, great purse looks. And the one I always wanted to use and never got to use was Who's Sorry Now, India Fashion. So, but that's like, it either comes to you or it doesn't. And sometimes you get stuck. Like I actually got stuck on a title for one of my Cajun country mysteries. And I just pitched to my, to the publisher. I just said, what about House by You? So it's okay. What do you guys?
Well, with the cheese shop mysteries, it was almost easy because I had cheese that I could put in almost every title, or a cheese food. So The Long Quiche Goodbye, Lost in Fondue, Clobbered by Camembert, To Brie or Not To Brie. Those were fun. And I came up with all of those because I love coming up with punny titles. In fact, I'm in a writer's group and they'll always say, okay, Daryl, we need some titles. And I can come up with their titles. In the Fairy Garden Mysteries, they don't want punny. They want ethereal. So A Sprinkling of Murder, A Glimmer of Truth, or a glimmer of a clue. So a hint of truth. So coming up with little lighter titles on that. And the Cookbook Nook Mysteries, we went with book and food together. So stirring the plot, fudging the books, shredding the evidence. They're just sort of fun. But sometimes I've had to reach out to my Facebook people and say, I need a title here. Give me some inspiration, because it wasn't coming to me. And so Facebook people, you are fabulous and I love you.
Vicki, what about you?
I'm absolutely terrible at coming up with cozy mystery titles. When I was writing psychological suspense and police procedural, I had no trouble thinking. I had some really great titles, I think. Valley of the Lost, Winter of Secrets, Unreasonable Doubt. I had a lot of great titles, but for the cozies, I don't think I've come up with one of my own titles.
Really?
So I asked my agent at the agency, she says they love to sit around and toss ideas, so they've come up with a lot of them. Some of them the publishers have come up with. And what's particularly hard is actually titles for the Sherlock Holmes Bookshop series. Because I'm trying
really?
I want something that means that sort of says Sherlock Holmes, but that also says bookstore. And those are
It's hard to get the two to meet. Absolutely.
It's for me too. For the Cajun countries, we always want them to have a little bit of suspense because they're not really punny titles. My friend Mindy came up with the first one. That's the only Plantation Shutters. That's the only punny title. But they also have to have a sense of place. So you have to get the suspense in there. You have to get the theme of the mystery, and you have to get like something that involves Louisiana on some level. So that's I have pages of titles for some of these books. So there's one more question, and then I think this is probably the last question. Let's see. That's the same question that we just answered. Hello.
Hello. I am the villain of this. I don't have a good punny title for this event. I was very non-punny creative and just said cozy panel in coming up with it. But I am the villain in which it is now the time I have to say the event is now coming to a close, which is never the fun, but someone has to do it, and I shall be the one. But I want to say thank you so much to all of the awesome readers that we had attending. It was great. You guys were active in the chat, and it was so much fun getting to see all the love and excitement. And new readers, too. So shout out to all the new readers.
Yeah. Lots of readers.
Yeah.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you very much to our awesome authors as well. Ellen, very happy book birthday to you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Daryl, and thank you, Vicki, for joining us as well.
Vicki, happy birthday too.
Oh,
yeah.
Right.
Yours is even newer than mine. Mine is that. So, Constance, thank you so much, and thanks to everyone at Mysterious Galaxy for giving us this great opportunity. And Vicki, thank you for joining us from Canada.
Well, I'm glad it worked out because I had to actually do is turn off my Wi-Fi, and I'm using my my phone. Yeah.
Oh, good, perfect.
Sometimes,
I live out in the country. Like I'm out of town, and the Wi-Fi is like super unreliable. So
yeah. Great.
Anyway,
Well, I'm glad that you were able to join us, and we will go ahead and say goodnight to everyone. And also for those of you who are looking to start the series and you're like, where are all these awesome books in one spot? That's right. The link down below, everybody. But thank you so much for joining us, and we will see you
so much.
Thank you.
Bye, guys.